People often ask me, what do you see for America? What do you prophetically see? And I usually respond, well, what are you praying for? Because as the church goes, so goes the nation. And I believe that God loves America and that God is a good God. And just living in America, I've just seen so many things that bring pleasure to the Lord. And yet, we'd have to be blind to say that all things are pleasant to Him. Because there's some things that happen within this nation and any nation that bring grief to His heart. What I sense is that we have to create a critical mass of faith. In other words, there has to be a weight in the Spirit that we produce with our faith in crying out to God for deliverance for the land, for the blessing of the land, that outweighs the weight of sin. Because I believe that we can change it. You know, sin always bears a consequence. When we sin, it bears a negative consequence. When we make a righteous choice, it bears a positive consequence. And so, as a nation is forming, it's really important that the right seed gets sown into it. There are some seeds in America that definitely need to be plucked up. But God is a good God, and He's a merciful God, and He's waiting for His church. Do you know that in the Psalms, the psalmist said, the heavens belong to the Lord, but the earth belongs to the sons of men. In Matthew 16, verse 19, Jesus said, I'm giving you the keys of the kingdom. Whatever you bind on the earth shall be bound in heaven. In Genesis 1, it says that in the beginning, God, Elohim, created the heavens and the earth. And it said the earth was without form and it was void. It was actually in a state of chaos. And darkness covered over the surface of the waters. And so it's like it wasn't like anything that was beautiful, anything that was structured according to His will or anything like that. But in the beginning, He said, let there be light. And through those words of faith, He created light into the midst of darkness. And He created structure into the midst of chaos. That's what God did in the very beginning. In verse 27 and 28, it says that Elohim, this ruler, creator God, created us in His image and in His likeness. In the image and likeness, as one who rules and one who creates, He created us. And He gave us dominion over every living thing in the earth. In the New Testament, we see Jesus saying in Matthew 28, all authority in heaven and in earth has been given unto me. Go ye therefore and make disciples of all the nations. He didn't say just give them an option. He said make disciples of all the nations. Why? Because all authority had been given back to Him. Now He's given it to us. He's given us those keys. We are the ones that create in the earth. Many people are waiting around for God to do something, but He's actually waiting for His church to do something. As the church goes, so goes the nation. We need to look at the issue of our status before God. Do we believe in Him? Do we honor Him? Are we worshiping Him? Are we celebrating His goodness? And are we living for Him? I have heard statistics that are disappointing, very grievous to me. For example, I hear that there's as much fornication and pornography in the church as there is out there in the world. That's sad. I hear that there's dishonesty in the church and there's embezzlement of funds and there's adultery and there's lack of commitment and keeping covenants. This is happening inside the church. Now, if it is true, which it is, that sin bears a consequence and we are not dealing properly with sin or addressing it, and that little bit of leaven is leavening the lump, then how are we going to have authority in a nation? How are we going to be able to shift through a critical mass of faith the status of a nation to make it a godly nation? It's going to take a few righteous people who put their face before the Lord like never before and cry out for the land. And I believe that if we will do it, that we can have a great awakening. That there can be a conviction of the Spirit that comes and turns people's hearts back to God. That's what happened in past holiness revivals, like the Welsh revival, the Hebrides revival, the first and second Great Awakenings. You know, you go and study out church history and you see where God had breakthrough with the people because there was a praying people. As the church goes, so goes the nation. When people ask me, what do you see for America? I see great potential. I see great possibilities if the church will humble themselves and pray and seek his face and turn from their own wicked ways. If they will position themselves before the Lord, if they will call out and cry out to him, positioned rightly before him, I think he will hear our prayer. He will forgive our sin, and he will heal our land.